Hi there, welcome back. In this lab we're going to look at how we can set up DHCP on a Cisco router. DHCP being the method of automatically assigning IP addresses on a given subnet is pretty much used in every network that I've ever worked on. So essentially, except maybe like server farms where you might set the IP address statically, but in office networks you would always see DHCP. DHCP basically means it all stands for Dynamic Host Control Protocol or Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, depending which one you prefer. I think both are correct actually. So essentially what we're going to do is jump onto the Vancouver router, and we're going to hit the password Cisco into configuration mode, and the first thing we need to do is turn on DHCP. So that's now turned on. Now we need to create a pool, so IP DHCP pool, and the name can be anything. We'll just call it Van for Vancouver. That'll drop us into the DHCP config, which you can see here. And the first thing we need to set up is the actual network that we want to be sending IP addresses or assigning IP addresses on. So 192.168.2.0 in this case, which is the Vancouver network, which you can see here. This is the office network. So we want people to be able to actually connect their computers to the network, automatically send out a broadcast to the subnet that they're connected to. In this case it would be 192.168.2.0. Send a broadcast out, ask anybody for an IP address, so it can be anybody. Hopefully you've only got one DHCP router on there, or maybe you have several that they're set up. You can set up several DHCP servers to avoid sort of putting all your eggs in one basket, but we're not going to go into that. So network is 192.168.2.0. They need a default router, which we'll set to the router's main IP address, which we set on the loopback address. We need DNS servers, so we can resolve DNS names like Microsoft.com to an actual IP address. What else do we need? So we have the IP address from this range will be assigned to us, the first available one. We have the default router, we have DNS, we're going to set the domain name, and we'll set that to cbtbytes.com, and we'll set the lease duration as well. This is kind of useful. So if we hit the question mark, we can set an infinite lease, which is not a good idea at all. We want the leases to basically be expired when somebody leaves the network. That lease should be kind of expired relatively quickly. So we're going to set the lease up to 0 days, and we'll set it up to 4 hours and 0 minutes. So every 4 hours you're going to need to get a new IP address from this router. You'll broadcast out and ask for a new IP address basically. It won't be every 4 hours actually, because in DHCP you send the request for the lease sort of halfway, so around about 2 hours you actually send a request for a new IP address. So it's actually half the time of the lease is when you request a new IP address in DHCP. Okay, so that's just to stop you from getting disconnected essentially while you're waiting for a new IP. One thing we might want to do is exclude a range of IP addresses from this range here, the 192.168.2.0 range. We might want to exclude some IP addresses that have maybe been set up statically on printers, on servers, or anything like that. So the way that we do that is we do IP DHCP. Sorry about that, that's my wife texting me. And then we go to excluded addresses, and then we're going to set 192.168.2.1 and then 192.168.2.20. So basically what we're doing is we're saving the first 20 IP addresses in the range. Those IP addresses will not now be handed out automatically on the network. The good thing about that is obviously you don't want to hand out an IP address which is already statically set somewhere else on the network. Otherwise you're going to see something called an IP conflict, and it can break connectivity for those two devices basically. A useful command is show IP DHCP bindings. There won't be anything in here currently, but what you will be able to see is the IP address that's been assigned, the hardware address, so the MAC address, and the lease expiration, and the type. I'm not sure you would see there actually. But yeah, generally this is where you would see your DHCP leases, and you can see what's actually happened and which IP addresses have been assigned to which computers on the network. That's really all we need to be up and running on DHCP. Any questions, give me a shout, but I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video where we're going to talk about network address translation. So once again, thank you for viewing, and I'll see you in the next video.